The winter season of 2023 anime is stacked with popular romance animes, but out of all the romance titles airing this season like Tomo-chan is a Girl or The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, this anime about a background character is the best romance anime this season. Background characters are usually unnoticeable and don't take the center stage. Well, Junta Shiraishi is a background character of his own adolescence. He has no hidden talents, no redeeming features, and is practically invisible to the naked eye of his classmates. Even his character design is bland and simple with no distinguishing features like that of an unimportant character. He always carries a dull, emotionless expression, and he doesn't have those big fuck bright colorful eyes that a main character would have. In other words, his everyday life is as boring and grey as it gets. Enter Nagisa Kubo, voiced by Kana Hanazawa.
Ohayo.
She's a good student, she's athletic, and she even has both friends and a presence, which are all things that Shiraishi can only hope for. But even though they are worlds apart, to Shiraishi's luck, whether good or bad, Kubo is the only one in his class who notices his otherwise invisible presence. And thus, the unlikely rom-com between an invisible background character and an outgoing extroverted character begins. Now, if you've watched enough anime, you should know exactly what happens when a timid invisible boy and a sparkly loud girl interact. You either go down the wholesome Takagi-sa path or the absolutely degenerate Nagatoro levels of teasing. And Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible lies somewhere in the middle. Sometimes Kubo goes from making the fattest pout faces known to anime to straight up sitting on Shiraishi's lap. For our true background character boy, she is indeed too much to handle. Her methods of teasing and games are usually similar to Takagi-san, but her punishments are sometimes close to degeneracy. This rom-com between an introvert and extroverted character is definitely a wholesome ride, comparable more to Takagi-san than Nagatoro. At least it's nowhere near as annoying as Uzaki-chan. That being said, this anime isn't a reskinned version of other teasing related animes. It is its own different take on this genre. Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible is full of soft and shining moments with colors that pop out in nearly every scene of the series. The music is both goofy and relaxing, which easily adds on the slow-paced nature of this rom-com. The characters are, obviously, the driving force of this wholesome teasing rom-com, where we usually follow the everyday life of Shiraishi and Kubo interacting, playing games, having fun. Well, at least one of them has a lot of fun, and not to mention the other characters and their interactions with the main duo are so damn fun to watch. Shiraishi has a little brother who is just a brain-melting ball of wholesomeness who usually ends up unknowingly assisting Kubo in teasing Shiraishi. Kubo's older sister is the only character in the history of teasing rom-coms who can make fun of the main female lead with a 100% success rate. Although that being said, her character is more like a playful, loving older sister who encourages the two of them from the sidelines. But the most interesting character of all of them is Shiraishi himself. Shiraishi has no confidence in himself, and you cannot blame the guy when his peers compare him to a fucking kappa. So when Kubo waves at him, he doesn't even for a second consider that it was directed at him, and not her friend who just arrived seconds later. To put it simply, Shiraishi doesn't believe for even a second that anyone, let alone a girl as pretty as Kubo, would ever go out of their way to interact with him. When he finds a Valentine's chocolate in his desk, he doesn't even for a second think that it's for him, but instead thinks of all the possibilities first. Over the course of the series, almost any and every obvious attempts of advances by Kubo are all immediately shot down by Shiraishi, who remains oblivious of Kubo's feelings for him. He doesn't see anything special in himself, let alone consider for even a second that Kubo might see something in him, which she very obviously does. In that sense, the story makes you wanna root for Shiraishi to grow out of his lack of confidence, which Kubo's involvement in his daily life slowly but surely ensures. As a manga reader, I can easily say that this adaptation delivers on its contents. Take the start of the first episode for example. The shot selection consistently makes sure that you don't notice Shiraishi unless you really look for him. He truly blends in like any other mob character, and the anime expresses that in some ways better than the manga did. Not only does it adapt everything properly, it even goes as far as to add extra stuff to help and bridge the gap between the different chapters of the manga. Anime adaptations of manga, especially the rom-com genre like Tomo-chan is a Girl, are separated in 3 to 4 segments of content per episode, as they perfectly replicate the manga. While there is nothing wrong with that, Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible decides to take a different approach and add anime original content to connect the story seamlessly instead of abruptly cutting to the next gag. The studio working on this anime were also behind Do It Yourself last season, and judging from how unique the animation and art style for that show was, it's safe to say that some of that uniqueness in the art style has made its way to this anime, and I'm all for it. The art style of the anime perfectly matches with that of the manga. It reminds me somewhat of Komi-san's art style, as they both usually skip back and forth between the cute, bubbly art style and the beautiful, glossy animation. The manga's art style makes the character go from looking like a bubble waiting to burst in one panel to looking like Well, this. The anime perfectly matches this theme of cute and cool, and I love that. Shiraishi's black silhouette, his faded color, and his dull expressions are all completely opposite of the colorful and cheerful character design of Kubo-san, which is the kind of thing that only really works as an anime, and it clearly takes advantage of that. The anime perfectly captures every character's energy. It uses proper composition to always make sure that the main character is noticeable, while also being the perfect background character. As for Kubo, her playful and outgoing energy is perfectly encapsulated in this adaptation, and in many ways, it is only enhanced by the anime. While the animation is consistently good and pretty damn detailed, I mean, who the fuck is gonna notice a plastic bag falling over to the side when it's not even the main focus of the shot, but it's these tiny details that add up over time and really show the thought and effort that the studio has put into this anime. The animation also becomes extremely smooth for some of the Kubo-san scenes. The art style, the aesthetic, and the color palette of this anime have a very fuzzy vibe to them, and the characters themselves are absolutely fun to watch. The only criticism I could find was that it's not really funny and that people don't really find the comedy aspect to be all that great. But that can be easily overlooked since at its core, it is a fun to watch romance anime, and that's where the show absolutely delivers. In conclusion, if you want to watch something wholesome, cute, relaxing with overflowing adorable vibes, then Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible is your one-way ticket to a calm and chill romance anime that you definitely should not miss out on this season. But unfortunately, since this season has turned into the season of delays, Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible from its 7th episode is set to be delayed till April. As a manga reader, I can confirm that there are some great scenes from the later part of the manga for the anime onlys to look forward to. But it's unfortunate that such a great adaptation and wholesome story probably won't have any discussion surrounding it even once it starts airing again, because that's how it usually goes for most of the delayed animes. But nonetheless, we shall await its return, join our hands, and rise from our graves once the delay is over. But until then, just read the manga, bro.